Hi everybody. Today we're here to talk about family caregiver relationship challenges and struggles and how to deal with strained relationships with your siblings and with your elderly parents. Let's start by asking a few questions. Are you a caregiver drowning in responsibilities and work because your siblings and other family members aren't offering any support or even acknowledging your efforts? Are you drowning under the emotional weight of family caregiving responsibilities because of the expectations of everybody else? Or maybe you're in a situation caring for elderly parents where not all of your siblings agree on a care plan for an elderly parent or even want to talk about it. Maybe you have a caregiver sibling who is over-controlling and they think that they know best. Any or one of these situations can create a loop of emotional distress, hesitance to work with your family members, fear of conflict, or simply just resentment. It's no secret, caregiving is hard work. It's emotionally, physically, and stressful. You think it's going to last for a short period of time, and it lasts years, longer than one would ever expect. You may be a caregiver who works full-time and helps your elderly parents after work or on the weekends. Maybe you're a full-time spouse caregiver or an adult child who a parent convinced to give up your job, become their caregiver, and live with them. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Or maybe you're a sibling who's just been too busy. You've not been involved in the care of your parents for some time while your other siblings were doing all the work, and now suddenly you're concerned about the care an elderly parent is receiving or not receiving. There can be so many reasons for challenges in family caregiver relationships. And for many caregivers and elderly parents who need care, their lives can become increasingly narrow and isolated. If you're a caregiver, there's probably no time to do things that you used to love. If you're an older adult because of your advancing age or health problems or income limitations because you're having to pay healthcare expenses, maybe you gave up activities that brought you joy. And now both of you are thinking, what is there left to live for? Caregivers trade time and give up joyful activities to care for other people. Older adults who need care lose their physical abilities, which increases their need for help around the house and with daily activities. Being a family caregiver, or getting old and being unable to take care of yourself, is not anything that we plan for. Needing care, living in an assisted living, or moving to a nursing home, I'm guessing it's not on your bucket list of things that you say you want to do. Which is why recognizing these possibilities many years before they become a potential reality is important. And I talk about the importance of being proactive with health and retirement planning in so many other videos here on my YouTube channel. So look for those. So family caregiver relationships. What happens when these relationships become challenging? Many times it's because the caregiver and the older adult are faced with just unexpected issues that you have to deal with. Some of these are easy to deal with, some of them are hard, some of them are traumatic, you worry about them, and so what happens is, up here in your mind, you start reliving stories about these events. And if you have unhelpful, controlling, or disagreeable siblings, you may relive these issues or memories from your childhood or your adulthood where you got into disagreements that never worked out, or there were promises or expectations that didn't get met. And so what happens in caregiving families, caregivers, siblings, elderly parents, we all carry these thoughts and these beliefs and these stories instead of releasing them, so that these stories don't hold power over our daily lives, so that we don't clutch them like this badge of horror to show other people that we've lived through these difficult and horrible situations. Because when we do this, the problem with devoting all of this mental time to recalling these struggles and telling people about these struggles is these stories become our life story, and they become our reality, and they become our daily life that we choose to hold on to, and we never escape or move past them. So, stay with me while I share one of the most common issues family members face when dealing with strained family caregiving relationships, questions to ask yourself to identify issues that you might be holding on to, and steps that you can take to move through these family situations to actually work with your siblings and your elderly parents. So make sure that you stay with me all the way to the end, because that's where you will find the steps that will help you the most. As you know, in these videos, sometimes I have to give context and background so that the recommendations make sense. If this is your first time here, I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a professional caregiving expert and expert witness with more than 25 years of experience helping older adults and their caregivers work through all of these emotional, financial, legal, family dynamic issues in caregiving. You can learn more about me and my professional experience by clicking the links below this video. There's also a lot of helpful information on my website, which is PamelaDWilson.com. Please do me a favor, like this video, follow my channel, share these videos with other people. Your participation helps other people find their way here. So, let's start with context and background about how and why family relationships become strained, so that I can offer tips and solutions for you to think about. One of the most common issues families face when dealing with strained family caregiver relationships is managing emotions. Holding on to hurtful or painful thoughts, traumas, beliefs, memories, stories that cause you distress, that really may have nothing to do with the decisions to care for an elderly parent or how to care for an elderly parent. But all of these thoughts and emotions affect your relationships with other people in your family, like your siblings, aunts, uncles, grandparents. And so that does affect the care for your elderly parent. Now, we all have these. We all have harmful or painful thoughts or memories that just stay with us. It's what we choose to do with these memories, with these thoughts, that reflect our current circumstances and our future current life circumstances. These beliefs can turn into lifelong behavior patterns. They can be beliefs that cultures put upon us. They can be family cultural habits that may have passed down from generation to generation to generation, but they no longer fit today's generation because they don't make sense anymore. There can also be codependent relationships in families between adult children and parents that have gone on for years. So, in my meetings with family caregivers, there are family members who all they can do is focus on the past. Instead of saying, okay, the past is the past, we need to now look at the future for mom and dad or a spouse or grandparents. Now, full disclosure, my caregiver counseling meetings with caregivers all over the world focus on problem solving and planning. I'm not a mental health counselor. I don't want to be. My job is not to work through your family history of emotional challenges or generational patterns, even though we can recognize these and talk about how emotions around being a caregiver or a person with illnesses can impact family caregiver relationships. My work, my counseling sessions, problem-focused and solution-based. because we all know that holding on to trauma, hurtful memories, painful thoughts, it causes a lot of distress. And some family members will dwell for years on what a sibling or a brother or a sister or somebody did to them or didn't do, or on what support an elderly parent provided or did not. Now, some family members recognize their actions and how they were probably not the best. Some family members apologize. Others recognize there's a problem, but they never do anything about it. They never choose to learn new skills or new habit patterns, and they remain in these self-destructive and self-harming behaviors that really aren't going to help them improve relationships with their siblings or with their parents. And this isn't to say that all these past hurts and issues, they're not real, they're not valid, they are valid. These stories that people repeat and tell to others give an indication of what's important to you. Is your trauma so important to you that you have to keep telling the story? Is the pain so important to you that you have to keep telling the story? Or would you rather work through it so that you don't have to tell that story and you're telling happier stories and more positive stories? So look at yourself. What stories do you tell or repeat to other people? What stories are you holding on to? Have these stories become your identity, who you are, and the way that you think about yourself? And are these stories limiting your life potential, your life possibilities, your relationships? Are you a person who constantly talks about other people and criticizes them without giving the opportunity to give their side of the story? If so, what is it you expect from this conversation and the people that you're telling? Are you trying to divide people in your family instead of bring people in your family together? Stories can be very helpful. We can tell them to help other people understand what happened to us and why we feel a certain way or why we're making specific choices. This context, this background is very, very important if we use it for constructive purposes, not to blame other people or make other people feel bad if we recognize our role in that situation. So the focus of family caregiver meetings is really for family members to identify and commit to working together to help an elderly parent, a grandparent, or somebody else. If there is a lot of long-standing personal issues, those have to be dealt with separately between those two individuals and maybe between a mental health counselor. Because elderly parents with a lot of health problems, with dementia, they do not benefit from the added stress of siblings who squabble or disagree, or having children influence them to take sides. Well, my brother's bad or my sister's bad. What good does that do? What benefit does that do to your parent except cause them emotional distress? Find ways to work out your issues for the benefits of your elderly parent who need care. They're not going to be around forever. And this is the big if, right? If you want a relationship with your siblings after your parents pass away, now is the time to work on these relationships. If family relationships don't matter to you, then go live your life. Turn off this video. Go live your life. And let your other siblings who want to have relationships work together without you interfering. So now the good stuff. The steps you can take and the questions you can ask yourself to resolve these family issues, resolve these family disagreements and the conflicts. By looking at how you think about things, how you view situations, and identifying your behavior patterns. Now, this is only if you're willing to do the work and commit the time. Everybody can choose to make time for things that are important to them. You get to decide what's important to you in the context of family and other relationships. And if you're a person holding on to past issues, first of all, ask yourself, what are you holding on to and why? Why are you committing all of your mental space to these thoughts that aren't making you happy? Maybe they make you angry. Maybe they make you more resentful. Maybe they make you less likely to want to talk to your siblings. Why hold on to those thoughts if you really want a different relationship? Where are you spending your mental time? Admittedly, it's not easy to navigate all these emotional burdens and stresses and weights of family caregiver relationships that kind of deprioritize your happiness and place your needs kind of at the bottom of the pile because you're spending all this emotional work not really working things out, but being angry and resentful and upset. Your mind up here creates your thoughts. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your memories. They're not holding on to you. You're holding on to them. How might your life change if you let go of these thoughts and replace them with something else, with other thoughts, with other habits? It's important for you to think about how these thoughts and memories and traumas are affecting you. Are they helping you or are they dragging you down? So here's how you might know, right? Make a list, get a piece of paper, write down your thoughts, your beliefs, the truths that you carry that upset you, that cause you pain, that make you feel anxious, and look at them. So one of them on the list may be, you know what, I just don't like my brother or sister. When what you may not like is that person's actions or beliefs rather than not liking the person. So we have to separate people, the body of the person, from their beliefs or actions. Because if you take the time to do that and you talk to them, you might actually find other things that you have in common with this person. And just realize that over here you have this difference of opinion on a specific topic, and you shouldn't let that one thing damage your family relationship, unless, of course, you choose to. This is where oppositional thinking and exclusive thinking comes in. And the term that is used for this is called dualistic thinking. Dualistic thinking means that people or events are good or they're bad. They're black or they're white. They're right or they're wrong. And in these cases, people can make snap judgments rather than considering that maybe there's more context or background and the situation is actually more complicated than it appears. Dualistic thinking blocks progress. It blocks relationships by assuming that our way or your way or that person's way is the only answer. It's the only right answer. It's the only way to solve a problem. That's not true. This duality, us versus them, right versus wrong, black versus white, it doesn't welcome different ideas or different perspectives because the person with dualistic thinking is too attached and ingrained to their way of thinking versus thinking that, wow, maybe there's other possibilities. Maybe there's things I have not thought of. Maybe there are workable options or other solutions. And this happens because sometimes our lives are so limited that we just don't even consider that. Dualistic thinking elaborates division. It elaborates not working with people. It eliminates collaboration. And it creates all of these barriers between people who choose not to get along. And this is how family caregiving relationships can be damaged. So is this type of thinking going on in your family? Do you have this type of thinking? Do your brothers or sisters have this type of thinking? Do your parents think this way? So how do you know? Well, look at how you think about things. Do you have a mindset that sees situations or people as not having anything in common? Like, I have nothing in common with this person. There's no way I could have anything in common with my sibling or whatever because our lives are so different. Well, your lives may be different, but you still all kind of want the same thing. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be accepted. So rather than thinking it's like us versus them, how can you become more flexible versus inflexible? Who do you spend the most time with? Is it inflexible people? Is it dualistic people who have this us versus them attitude? They're always wrong. We're right. They're wrong. And so think about who you spend the most time with and how these people influence your thinking because they want you to be like them. And is that influencing your relationships with other people? If you want to be more open-minded, are these the people that you should keep spending time with, or should you maybe look for other friends or acquaintances who question things? Start listening to your thoughts. Where are they taking you? Helpful, positive, or negative, anxious, fearful? Do you become anxious or resistant when you hear the perspectives of other people that you immediately do not agree with? And if so, why is that? Is it possible for you to think of like neutral possibilities or a middle ground? Like, well, I see this viewpoint and I see this viewpoint. What's in the middle? What's in between all of this that people aren't talking about because they want me to think this way or they want me to think that way? What if the middle ground isn't like good or bad, it's just different from the way that you would normally approach situations or from the way that you would normally think? And so in all of these family caregiver disagreements with your siblings and with your parents, rather than looking at situations where there's only agreement or disagreement, imagine what might happen if you started being interested and asking questions about another person's viewpoint and then being able to share yours and saying to that person, well, okay, you think this and I think that. What's in the middle of the way that both of us think? Are there compromises? Are there things where both of us give a little bit and we work this out and we can work together and we see how that goes? Imagine what you might learn and how all of your relationships might improve if you could start thinking from a neutral mindset about things that aren't only good or only bad, only right or only wrong, only black or only white. This is really a different way to think because society usually does not think this way. Everything out there is trying to sway us to one viewpoint or another. So give this some consideration. If you're interested and committed, work with your family members to improve your relationships around care for your elderly parents, rather than being stuck in maybe unproductive habits that are affecting other parts of your life, not just your caregiving relationships. I thank you all so much for being here. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert and expert witness. I work with adult children and older parents and people wanting to improve their life situations related to care and caregiving and financial planning and legal planning. You can schedule a one-on-one consultation with me by visiting my website. Go to the Services tab, click on Elder Care Consultation, and fill out the form. There's also plenty of free information on my website. Online caregiver courses, my blog, my caregiving library, my book, my podcast. 3 online courses. I thank you all so much for being here. I will see you all again soon in another video.